All right, hey everybody. We are back with another edition of KC Music Talk. Today I am here with a piano player, teacher, and musician here in town, Andre Reyes Jr.
Hey man, thanks so
How
much
you
for
doing?
having me. I'm great.
And I forgot to tell you, don't worry about all those idiots. Just kind of sit here and
Cool.
talk to me. You know,
For sure, for
who,
sure.
who cares about them?
For sure,
You
man.
know, but yeah, man. Thanks for coming. I met you through our mutual buddy Jerry Riccardi.
Yep.
And I think when we both met each other, we kind of said the same thing. Where Jerry was talking to you, talking to me about you. It sounds like he was doing the
Yep,
same
talking
thing.
to me about you, man. So
Yeah.
I've been dying to meet you, and I'm glad we met. A few weeks
Mhm.
back, and it's been great, man. Killer
Yeah.
player.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, you too. I like.
So-
We'll talk about this in a minute, but definitely watching you for sure with court. Obviously, like courting and stuff, but just soloing. I mean, you got some chops, man. I mean,
I
you're going.
appreciate that, man.
No,
Thank you.
nobody does that in one day, you know. I mean, they get the piano and then
For sure, man. A lot of
Yeah.
work. A lot of practice, a lot of determination.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's all about if you want to make it
That's
in
cool.
music, man.
Yeah. So for everybody who doesn't know you, tell us about kind of how you got to this point, like with your music.
For sure. Well, I grew up here in Kansas City. Lived here all my life, except for when I went to college. I went down to Friends University in Wichita and got a degree in jazz piano.
I'm so sorry. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
man, I love it down
Wichita
there.
State.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I feel
Screw
the same.
those guys. No, I'm
I
just
feel the
kidding.
same, man.
No, they got a good
those
music
cats are great,
department.
man. I've got a guitar player that plays with us.
Mhm.
He got his master's down there, Riley Day.
Mhm.
Killer player. I mean, all his cats are from Wichita State, and
Mhm.
great guys down there, man. Really respect them, really enjoy them. But yeah, I grew up here in the metro area. Grew up in KCK. Went to Sumner.
Mhm.
Did the jazz scene there, and all my family actually played music. So my dad's played, my uncle plays, my brother and I both have our band Stranded in the City,
Mhm.
and
That's cool.
we're playing in various bands around town. And it actually dates back to my great grandpa on my dad's side. He played here in the States. I believe he also played in Mexico.
Mhm.
And my grandpa played sax. He studied at the conservatory, and he sang and did a bunch of like the original. In the Hispanic community, they had a lot of like original bands, is what they called them,
Mhm.
or like original Mexican jazz groups
Mhm.
who tried to do the big band thing and try to break out and really get into the Americanized scene. And my grandpa did that, and my dad and my uncle, they picked up on it, and since they were younger than I was, I mean, since they were in their early teens, they had their first bands, learning a bunch of Tejano music and,
Mhm.
the funk music of their era, and playing with all these older cats. And me and my brother kind of followed in those footsteps, man. We really wanted to immerse ourselves in the music and really grow and learn all we could. And I mean, that's kind of all we've known, for all our lives, is just music and
Mhm.
what it does for us as a community and as a family. And that's probably where I am today, just gigging a lot and teaching and giving back, and constantly learning, constantly evolving with my playing and with my knowledge, and with my communities, really trying to branch out and grow and learn from other people, and let other people learn from me, and really taking all I can, not just with jazz and with Mexican music and all that, but every
Mhm.
single type of music I can become immersed in. That's really what keeps me going and really keeps me drawn to it, is just how many different types of languages there are,
Mhm.
with this music. And that's what really sticks out to me, is that it's an ever evolving language
Oh, yeah,
that I've
that's-
come to enjoy.
That's cool, man. And so, like, what was one big thing that you've taken from? And then you said your grandpa. You just said your grandpa played
Yeah,
too. So you've got
yeah.
like kind of a couple generations here.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
What's like the biggest thing you learned from them or watching either of them, either your dad or?
Well, when I was growing up with my parents both working, we would go to my grandparents' house, after school, or in the summer we'd be over there, and my grandpa would always pull out his sax or his flute or his clarinet, and he'd play the records, he'd sing to my grandma, and it was always jazz records, man, always. And so we would just sit there and we'd listen. And, you know, it's like, man, I want to learn that. And I tried to play saxophone, and I just completely sucked. That was horrible. Still can't play it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, from them, that's what really rooted me in the music, man, was just watching him and the way he would, you know, play his horns and, you know, sing and just be so immersed in it. You know, even at an older age where he wasn't out gigging, but, you know, he would go in the back room and he'd practice, and, you know, it would bring him peace, and it would make him feel better, you know. Because, I mean, you know, as you get older, you get sicker and you get, you know, weaker, and that really kept him going, and I'll always remember that. And that's always what, you know, drove me to want to keep going, is just seeing what it did for him, and, you know, what it's doing for me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, these days.
And you said something interesting, that, like, in the house or whatever, around you was jazz music.
Yeah.
You know, and you see what happens when somebody has, like, for example, jazz music, like, just playing in the background while you're just screwing around in the house or whatever, and then you see another household with, like, zero music, and look what happened to you. You know, where when it's literally around you in some way, you know, and then I've heard this happen a lot with kids too, where it's like their dad would endlessly play Coltrane, Miles, whoever, and the kid hates it. You know, I mean, they hate it. And then when they're 26 or something, their dad like passes away or something, and then that's all they want to listen to. Yeah. You know, and how much they hated it at the time, and now, you know, they couldn't bring, you know, they didn't have words for how they felt about that, and how makes them have these memories, and like, and also just brain chemistry wise, how that, you know, affects them. So man, that sounds like that was a really good idea for that to be around you guys. It really affected you, it sounds like. And
fortunately I never grew to hate it, you know. Even though it was on constantly. I mean, I still remember, you know, the first record that I think we used to play was like a trio album of Tommy Flanagan. And, you know, I grew to just continue to constantly love that record. And I think even before I even knew what transcription was, you know, or anything like that, you know, reading in general, I would sit down and I would listen, and my grandma had this really old baby grand piano in the front room that faced out the window. It was out of tune, you know, strings were broken, keys would stick, and I would sit there, man, and I would just try to figure out each and every single note, you know, even though I knew nothing about it. You know, I didn't understand what was going on, but I could sing it, and I could find it, even if it was out of tune, and I was going to figure it out to the best of the ability that I could, because I knew it would make my grandpa happy, and I knew it would make me happy. And I knew there was something about it that was just like, I have to do this, you know. And it's not even I have to, it's like I want to do this. I love to do this, you know. I
love what you just said, because that's the difference between, and I would probably put myself in that category too, of the transcription part of just figure it out, you know, and nobody's really telling you, and you just have that you know, I would imagine that people like yourself have that wherewithal of that, oh, that note's higher than this one, right? Oh, he's stopping on this, bump, 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 you know, you know, oh, no, I need this, I'm going too fast here, I need to, like, back off if the rhythm's, like, laid back or something, you know, all these little nuances of the music, and some people just don't have the wherewithal to just figure that out. And that's annoying, because, and in a minute I would love to talk to you about teaching, but that's one of the things that frustrates me about teaching some of my students, is that the way that I have to teach them is not how I learned.
For sure.
Because I just sat there and went, oh, you know, like the one I always use is Riders on the Storm, when he says, like, let your children, you know, and there's the stop there. And when I'm trying to do that on my violin, you know, no, it's not this smooth. You know, and that kind of stuff, I bet you were, I'm just going to guess, but I bet you were just one of those people that just figured that out.
Man, you know, I wish I could say it was that easy, but that's where it comes back to the whole idea of what I talked about earlier with, it's a constant learning of a new language. You know, like just when we're learning Spanish or German or French or whatever, you've got to learn that dialect. So, you know, with jazz, you had to learn how to swing right. You know, you had to learn how to lay back or be on the beat or, you know, quarter note triplet or, you know, dotted 8/16, whatever the case may be. You know, or how does blues swing, you know, variate from jazz swing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's just a constant learning of the language. But the cats that really take the time to sit there and listen and play along and really nitpick and understand, you know, those are the cats that are going to get it. And those are the cats that are going to fall in love and make a difference with it. You know, and that's what drove me, man. That's what really interested me was just, you know, the challenge of really learning it for what it was. You know, not doing it halfway, but doing it all the way.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and really understanding it for what it is.
Yeah, I like that. So tell me a little bit about your 2 or whatever projects you got going right now.
Man. The biggest thing I have is me and my brother when he was 8 and I was 13, we started our first band.
Wow.
And yeah, man, we were out gigging and doing a bunch of free events, you know, a bunch of festivals and church gigs and, you know, simple parties. We were like, man, just check us out. You know, we were hungry, man.
Yeah.
And so that has finally grown. You know, we're still together. I'm 25. You know, and we started our band a few years back called Stranded in the City. We kind of we kind of just sat down one night like 5-6 years ago, and you know, we were eating pizza around the kitchen table with our family, and we're like, man, we got to do something fresh. You know, we need to scrap all the old stuff. And you know, we started writing names down, and that's how we got our name. And you know, we finally got, after all these different pieces moving around and all these different evolutions, and you know, we want to do this music, we want to do that music. You know, can we do this music? Like, and all that, we finally got a group that we think is hungry and ready. So that band has really started to pick up in the last few months, and that's kind of like my main project. That's kind of my baby, you know.
Yeah.
I'm working hard, and we're all working hard. It's not an I thing, you know. It's a team. It's a family. That band is a family, and that's the biggest thing that's going on right now is that we're working towards our first album.
That's cool.
And you know, we're writing. We've been doing some studio stuff and really trying to get our own material out there, and that's our biggest project, man. And we're really excited to see where that's going to go in the next few months as we're you know, getting ready for summer break and teaching gets put on hold, and you know, we can all really bear down and like sit together and really get our project going. But it's going great, man, and that's kind of the biggest thing we're doing. Shameless plug, we're on Facebook, you know, and
it's not shameless.
Yeah, man. So if you guys want to check us out, please do. Stranded in the City, and it's just great, man. It's a family, and it's more on the funk side. You know, do some R&B, some hip hop, and that's kind of what our original genre is going to lean towards. A lot of snarky puppyish type stuff, but you know, it's still got some of that Kansas City down home roots, and it's got some Kendrick to Pimp a Butterfly influence, and it's got some, you know, P-Funk influence. It's got everything, you know. And
yeah, that's cool.
And hopefully people will dig the original stuff we're getting ready to put out. We're doing some work with some other local artists in town who we've enjoyed working with. One guy, Aaron Alexander, great hip-hop artist in town, who's coming up, and he's going to be on the album as well as some other people.
Cool.
So it's a great experience, man. So that's the biggest thing.
I know because I've only seen you guys twice at that jam with this concoction that you had, and I think I could probably speak for everybody that the one thing that I think the older people were impressed by was some of the 70s stuff that you
For
played.
sure.
You know,
Yeah,
I think they're always happy when we have people like us that are really into like 20s music. And we've heard of Fats Waller and Miles and Coltrane, and then when you even get to the, you know, George Clinton and 70s stuff and James Brown, and they anybody who's older, I think they're always happy when all of us aren't aren't just obsessed about like 2000s music, you know.
Exactly.
So, but I could
Exactly.
probably speak for everybody that they're happy about that, and I was definitely impressed. Specifically when you guys came out and played Blackout, you know, I
Cool,
mean,
man.
you know,
Dude, killer chart.
I was
man.
telling you guys, we did Peg in our band, you know, and,
Yeah,
and
man.
just Steely Dan is no joke, you know, any of it, you know,
Yeah.
is some tricky stuff, and you guys aren't coming out and playing, you know, only 2-chord tunes and stuff, you know, so the talent level's, you know, pretty high, and I know you guys are gonna be doing good with talent level high, picking good music, and being hungry.
Yeah, man.
You know,
No,
you
definitely.
can't really,
that.
yeah, no problem. I mean, you can't lose,
Yeah.
you know, with those three together,
Yeah,
you know.
and it's nice, man, when people, you know, the biggest thing we face with some people is that we'll walk into a place and, you know, one, we're all young,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'll walk in there just like I am right now, you know, sweater,
Mhm.
ball cap, you know, and sometimes it happens where, you know, some of these older guys kind of look at us and they're like, you know, I remember one instance we had a point where one guy was like, yeah, man, so you guys here to play? And we're like, you know, yeah, we're here to jam. And the guy's like, oh, well, I better leave, you know, before you guys get up there.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, and, you know, you just kind of look at him, it's like, is that necessary, man?
Right.
You know, so sometimes it's hard with some of these older cats who, like, assume we're there just to play hip-hop or,
Right.
you know, we can't hang and, you know, you get judged. And that's the unfortunate thing. But, you know, we're glad that
after you guys get up there, that all goes
yeah,
away.
yeah, man,
You know,
and we're glad
yeah.
that's starting to change, man. You know, my dad had dealt with that back in the day, and you know, a lot of his friends that we talked to who played with him, you know, they all can recall moments like that. But I'm glad that, you know, now that we've really found something that is grooving hard and is respectable, and you know, people are really, really digging it. I'm glad that those types of people are really starting to, you know, kind of turn around and be like, you know, I was wrong.
Oh yeah,
You
sure.
know, and that's the one thing I can appreciate, you know, is that people aren't starting to see us for just these young kids, you know. They're starting to be like, okay, you know, let's take a chance and let's listen to them. And, you know, fortunate enough for us, we have great players in the band, you know, who can bring it and who can really do the music justice, because that's all it's about, you know, is honoring those that came before you and, you know, developing yourself and leaving a legacy for you, you know, while still respecting those who were there before you were.
Yeah,
So.
and that definitely happened to me a little bit when I got into town too. And one was young, right, just being young, but the second was my instrument too. You know, because I'm rolling into a blues jam with stupid ass fiddle. You know, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, you know, and like with you guys, that went away. You know, after the first 10 seconds of the first song. You know, that
Man.
crap that they thought was done. You know, and they're like, okay, well, you know, this guy's not squeaking every note, and you know, so that kind of went away. But I definitely can understand that, and definitely booking, you know, with the actual club owner, you know, that's kind of more when that happens to me, and you know, when you know, I can tell them, you know, I played 30 whatever years, and they're like, yeah, okay, you know, it's not that they don't believe me, but it's like, you know. They're like, oh, yeah, oh, little Robbie, oh, you know.
Exactly, man. Definitely ran into that,
you know,
too,
so it's tough, you know.
Yeah, man, and that's where you gotta just know your value, and that's what I've come to learn and understand, you know, the hard way sometimes. But, you know, it's just, you know, for all you gigging musicians out there, is know your value. You know what you're worth. Don't sell yourself short. Now, I can understand going in there and selling yourself short once.
Yeah.
You know, but respect who you are, you know, respect the product that you're wanting to put out, stand by your product, and, you know, get what you're worth. And if they're not willing to do that for you, then move on.
Yeah.
You know,
that's good.
Don't be weak-minded about it, you know. Be confident in your playing, be confident in your band, be confident in your ability, and get your value, because you're worth it. You deserve it. You're working just as hard as anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, you deserve that, man.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So next thing is that we were talking right before we started about being in bands and the
sure.
idea of one of my fascinations has always been how do you I think the number one reason why bands fall apart is because of communication problems. Is everybody
sure,
not
man.
seeing eye to eye about what songs we're gonna play, what the in general when we play a song, how are we gonna do it? Are we purposefully doing it not like the original because of principle, or are we gonna do it like the original?
Man, yeah.
Are we going to? What kind of venues are we looking for? Are we going to rehearse? And all that kind of crap. What's been your experience with kind of the You said the word communication before you started. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. For me, communication is, like you just said, the most important thing. The do or die of a really good ensemble. And I learned the hard way when I was young was that you just got to be honest, man. If you're not honest, you're never going to get anything done. You're always going to question yourself, and everybody's going to question you, and vice versa. I mean, you go into that band as like any other job, man. You're a working unit. It's kind of like it's kind of just like a big puzzle, man. Everybody's got their piece, and it's all got to fit together, and it's all got to work. And man, I just learned that you have to be straight with one another. You have to express what you want. You have to be able to have a thick skin because not everybody's gonna see eye to eye. Just like you said, are we gonna do it? We're gonna do it like it's done, or are we gonna make it our own?
Yeah.
And not everybody's gonna be down for one way or another. So how do you compromise that? You might say, okay, well, if you're gonna, and this is where every scenario is different. So I can't speak for every band, but I can speak for, the things I've seen is that maybe this tune, you have a disagreement on, and it's like, okay, well, if we're going to do this one original, like it was by the book, then I would ask that maybe we do this one more of our interpretation, and there should be, that's where both parties have to say, okay, one's working for me, so I need to work for the other. Or if, you can't be afraid to just tell somebody like, man, that bass line is too busy.
Yeah.
That groove, like there's no pocket, your keyboard playing, you're doing too many fills, or it's, you can't be afraid to let them know because one, if you can't tell them, it's never going to change.
Right.
Then you're going to be bottling up all your emotions, all your anger.
You're sitting there hoping they figure it out.
That's not the way it works, man. It's everybody in that room is not only a learner, but they're a teacher. And so you got to be ready to teach as well as accept the criticisms and grow and learn from those. Because if you can't do that, then you're just a stubborn player. And who wants to work with a stubborn player? But one thing that I think the guys in my band and a lot of the cats that I've really got to work with and talk to and, exchange knowledge with is that for me, I've found, the best way to really learn a tune is to just learn the damn tune the way it is. Learn it the original way as much as you can and then go in and dissect it, and then go in and like,
start
to mess around with it, but you got to know it the way it was. And you got to find tunes that were similar. So, maybe find another cover version of it. Maybe find another person who did it.
How many guys learned that tune wrong? And then 20 years later, they're playing the same wrong chord right there.
Exactly.
Or they're doing two tags at the end when there's supposed to be no tags. That kind of stuff. And like, that does get annoying. You come into you get a sub. Right, a really good sub in town that's played that song for 30 years, some classic rock song or something, and they get in there and then they're all, well, exactly. Where'd you go? Okay, there you are.
And that's where you guys got to be open for like a healthy debate. I remember for the longest time, we had a debate on one of our songs: is that a major chord or is that a minor chord? And it's like, dude, we're going at it, we're arguing. There's like 5 guys involved, and then it's like, oh wait, okay, it is major. And it's like, well, we've been playing a minor this whole time, man. Like, come on, let's get together. But that's where you're like, okay, we were wrong. we laughed about it, we
Right.
figured it out, and it's all good, man. And that's where, that's just how you continue to grow and really, really have a tight connection with them. Because that's what it is, man. It's a tight knit community is what a band is. It's a family.
Yeah.
And that's always what I call the groups I'm in, man, a family, because you're growing together. If you're really trying to be a good band, you're seeing each other at least once a week.
Yeah.
You're going out and doing things on the weekend. You're going to concerts. You're constantly communicating.
Yeah.
On so many different levels. I mean, I don't just know about, you. I know about you. I know about your kids. I know about your family.
Yeah, you know them.
Yeah. So you got to treat each other with that open and honest respect.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a respect thing. I don't want to be humble, or I don't want to be sensitive to you, because that's like, I don't respect you. I want to be honest with you. I want to be willing to help you grow.
See, and this could go in a million ways. I mean, this could be definitely a political discussion on this topic, but like, is that honesty? Is that cruel?
Oh, man.
He's saying no.
Man, no, I think it just...
I mean, that's a great question, I mean,
Yeah.
because people... There's a lot of people, and this is one of my next questions, kind of with open jams, and it's kind of the same topic as how do you come at another musician, and what kind of tone do you come at him, what intention are you coming at him, and when you disagree, if you give him that honesty, is that cruel, or is that
for sure?
Is that what we have to do?
Now, I've dealt with that, man. Yeah, I've dealt with that. When it comes to the personal conversations between you and your bandmate that you're that family with, I think you just need to be yourself. So if you're rude about it, you're rude about it, but they know you and you know them, and they know that you don't mean anything by it.
Yeah.
It's just you communicating with them to become better, and you communicating with yourself to become better. Can you be nicer? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they want you to be nicer? That's up to them. And that's where you, as the person who's trying to tell them, you have to have the common sense to say, okay, he might not receive that well.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to adjust. That's where you have to look inside yourself.
Yeah.
Now, when I've done it on a jam, or on a bandstand, where if it's somebody like, if me and you had first met and we gigged together, I have to be ready to approach that in a more respectable fashion, because I don't know that person on a deep level. I don't know anything, about you. So how can I come at you and be rude about it? One, the way I see it is, if someone came to me like that in a rude fashion, I would say, one, well, why would I want to gig with you?
Yeah.
Are you a snob? Like, are you stuck up? Like, if they came at me in a more appropriate manner, I would say, okay, man, cool. Like, thanks for letting me know that. I'm glad I know that now.
Yeah.
I don't want to treat anybody rude who I don't know.
Yeah. So the one question that I've been rolling around in my head is the idea, and again, this could go into many other topics, but the idea of when you don't have control over something, what should you do about it? And so the example is like when you have this person who you aren't seeing eye to eye with, right? They want to do it like the original and you don't, or whatever the problem is. So you have that, hopefully you come at them with the good communication, and you're not a dick, and you let them know what's up, and then let's say they basically give the okay, and then they don't change, or they be a dick back to you because they don't like to take criticism, or however they react, and they don't change. My question that I'm trying to wrap my head around is, now I've done what I can do here. What do I need to do now? Because that situation is not changing. They haven't changed. So the couple of things that I've thought of is, one, you lay out the 4 options. So one is you sit there and deal with it. You don't do anything about it. Second is you get even more aggressive. I'm not saying these are good. I'm just saying these are options. You could get even more aggressive. third really bad option is you could go behind their back, right, and tell the band leader or something, you know, and hey, can you talk to this guy? He's pissing me off. He's playing over me every single time I have a solo or whatever the thing is. And then the fourth other good option that I found that it might be the solution that I really hate is you just go find like-minded individuals and you quit. You know, I hate that crap. But that's the problem that I'm thinking is probably the solution, because you can't change him, you know. And so what I want to do, and this is again a teaching kind of thing, is this thing is not fixed. He is not learned. You know, that we've tried this, but he is not any better right now. You know, so what I want to do is I want to fix him being better, but then you can't fix him being better. So then all you do, like in the world, you know, and then now make this broad in a world sense. Okay, so I just go pick like-minded individuals and that are already good players or already have etiquette or already, you know, and then I feel like I am better off, you know, with that solution. I'm better off, but he isn't. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the philosophical thing I've been trying to throw my head around, that I hate the crap.
Yeah, dude, that's tough because I hate quitting, man. I hate quitting a project, but at the same time, for you, what is it doing for you, man? Where's your happiness? Are you happy, you know, playing with this band or this guy or, you know, woman or, you know, whatever the person may be, whatever. It could be a dog. I don't care. You know, are you happy with them not listening? You know, and I mean, is it one tune?
Right.
Is it like all the tunes?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's where you and yourself have to figure out, okay, what's best for me?
Yeah.
You know, do I really want to put up with this? Because there's plenty of other cats who could take this
There's
gig.
a lot of players, especially in Kansas City. You know,
what does it really mean to me? Like, am I really enjoying this? And if you're not enjoying it, then who can fault you?
Yeah.
You know, that's where you got to look at your own happiness.
Yeah.
Because nobody is going to judge you for being happy.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is a question I asked Jerry, because Jerry just did his last week interview, and I wasn't going to ask you this or him, but it's actually a really good question. So along this lines of when you have problems with a bandmate or whatever, and this answer I guess could be different answers for everyone, but how did I word it to him? What is your deal breaker? You know, that's a good question.
Ooh,
you know,
man.
you know, like see, that's the kind of stuff that I love to think about. You know, for me, I'll give an example. So, okay, let's say you've got 50 songs in your set list or something, and you really hate 2 of them, but the other 48 are pretty good. To me, that's not a deal breaker, right? I mean, that's kind of deal with these couple of songs. Quit being a brat, you know.
I could deal with that. Yeah.
Now you get another scenario where the dude 5 gigs in a row is literally falling off the stage drunk, right? That might be a deal breaker with this guy. You know, that where you're making us look bad. We just got fired from 2 shows. You know, that's like an extreme example. You know.
Yeah.
But and I don't even know if you even have to answer this, but that's the kind of rhetorical question I'm trying to put out there to the world, is on this scenario of when you choose to walk away, do some people choose bad deal breakers, you know, and do some people choose really, you know, necessary deal breakers, you know, that's
for
just
sure.
a rhetorical question out there, you know.
I mean, I'd be happy to answer it, man, because I've dealt with that, you know, and I'll keep it short, but I think the biggest deal breaker for me is when you're dealing with an individual who doesn't consider himself an equal piece of the pie. You know, like who's not putting in the practice, who's not putting in the effort to learn, who's not helping the setup and the teardown on the gigs. You know, especially if it's your own stuff. You know, let's help each other, man. Like we're making the same pay, or should be, depending on how your place in the ensemble. You know,
how many guys don't help tear down?
Yeah, exactly.
Bands.
Yeah.
So,
it's a pain, dude. And I can understand if a person's older.
Yeah.
You know, or sick or has some sort of problem. That I understand.
You only have one leg. Get out there.
You know, yeah. Like carry this low, man. Like
that's not a very good excuse. One leg. Come on.
Exactly.
Please.
Exactly. But you know, it's things like that, man. It's just when a person doesn't want to bring their equal part. You know, that's what really that's what really drives me to say, you know, maybe I'm not right for this, or maybe you're not right for this.
Yeah.
Depending on the position I'm in, you know, if I'm the manager, if I'm, you know, just another player.
Right.
You know, it's got to be an equal. It's got to be an equal cut, man.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. All right, so another one for you. So talk to me. There's one that I'll share in a minute, I guess, for myself with teaching. Kind of moving over to teaching. Just I guess you can answer this however you want, but just like tell me a little bit about something in your head recently, like good or bad with your studio. You know, what's been annoying you, or what's been really, you know, you've been glad about recently, or is there anything you've been thinking about with your teaching?
Yeah, man. I just dealt with this the other day. It's finding the motivation for some of these kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I think every teacher faces that. You know, especially with the younger age students, is finding what's going to keep them inspired. You know, how do I adjust to make this kid, you know, to make their drive, you know, stay there. And I think that's one thing for us as teachers, or at least for myself, you know, I found that really makes my gears turn, and that really helps me enjoy teaching, is like, okay, what can I do differently with this guy or this young lady that I'm not doing with this other student, you know, that might push them to want to work harder, or push them to say, okay, maybe I do need to sit down and practice a little bit more. You know, because I hate, which I have, you know, recently started to do, was give a parent a sheet and say, okay, I need you to initial that your child practice 20 minutes a day. You know, I don't want that. You know, I don't mind going out and saying, okay, look, if you come back and learn these 3 songs next week, you know, here's a chocolate bar. Chocolate bar is not going to break me, you know, but it's also going to help the kid practice because he loves candy. He's a kid. You know?
Yeah.
You know, they're all kids. They're going to love something simple like that. And so,
why don't you like the why don't you like the mother or whatever signing that sheet? Why don't you like that?
Why don't I like that? Because I feel like then it's forced upon them in some ways.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to force anybody to do anything. I mean, there's been, you know, there's times when I've told a student, you know, you haven't practiced in 2 weeks. We've been on the same song for 2 weeks. You know, I don't...
And it's worse.
Yeah, and it's worse. You know, like, you can't even remember what that note is. You know, or I hate when, you know, and I hate to say it, but, like, I hate when a student can play the last 4 measures of a song perfectly, you know, but then the first 4 measures were the exact same thing. And it's like, you know, and I don't be mean to them about it, you know, but it's like, what are you not understanding sometimes? You know, and it's just them not being inspired.
Yeah.
So you can't fault them. They're all young. They're all going to go through transition. I was the same way.
Yeah.
You know, I unfortunately, as a young kid, hated to play classical music. So I quit.
Yeah.
Quit my lessons.
Right.
And that's when I got into the blues, you know, and doing all transcription by ear and everything. And it's like, you know, I truly regret that, and I wish I would have stayed.
Yeah.
You know, but everything happens for a reason.
Right, but that's a really interesting example, because you obviously, and we don't know this in the moment, you know, as teachers and parents and students, when they're sitting at 6 years old or 10 years old or whatever, and we can't see when they're 40.
Yeah.
You know, and we look at you now, right? I mean, you're, you know, deep in it, you know, really inspired, you like music, you're teaching, you know.
Yeah.
And like, so, you know, we can't see where they're at now, but you are obviously a person that right now this isn't happening. This classical is not happening. But look what happened even whatever a couple years later, when you get a different kind of music, and now you have this insane inspiration, and now you're sitting 30 years down the road or 20 or whatever, and you're so.
Exactly.
That's what's been hard for me, like you just said, is to find that thing.
Yeah,
and find that a motivational thing, and I don't know what it's gonna be.
Yeah, and you can't.
That's what sucks about it. Is you don't know what that's gonna be.
You don't know what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
and that's, you know, you can't fault the teacher. You know, for me, looking back on it, and I'm like, I can't. She didn't know what motivated me.
Yeah,
you know, she was doing her job of teaching me and doing what worked. You know, and it was just me who wasn't hungry. You know, that was me saying, okay, this music over here is making me hungry.
Yeah,
so I need to do this, you know. And so now that I'm teaching, because honestly, man, when I went to school, and I went to college, I was like, I'm never going to be a teacher. I don't want to do this. Now I'm teaching Catholic grade school and doing lessons, and for me, it's just like, I remember back, Christine Vitt, man, great piano teacher. I love her to death. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be playing, and knowing what I know. But for me, I look back on that moment, and it's definitely a teaching moment for me to say, when I face these challenges, what can I do differently to inspire, this particular student? And everyone's different.
Right.
And everyone I have to pay, special attention to, because none of them are going to be the same. They might be close.
Right.
But they're not going to be the same.
Yeah. I bet there'd be a couple of techniques that you would do that these four students all four of these students, that thing worked good,
Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be some similarities, but I totally know what you mean. You cannot take them all the same.
Yeah. And even in those similarities, man, you can do them a little bit differently for each one.
Yeah. So one of my... So for me, it's one of those things where I've had those moments, and this is really what always gets me is the emotional amount that I'm taking on myself and the amount that needs to go on. Because I look at it as a 3-part team. You got you, parent, student, and so you have these 3 responsible parties here. And so a lot of times, just because of the way I am, there's stuff that I will definitely like put on them, but there's a lot of stuff that might need to be put on them that I'll take onto myself. It's just my personality because I hate being wrong and stuff, so I want there to be something. This is back to the control thing we were talking about a minute ago, is that I want to put something in my control that I could do about this, the situation of the student not being able to work out. And that's why I hate the idea of not being able to control that. I said that word control. And so like when I have this situation and the kid isn't doing what they're supposed to do, the first thing that I'll think of is that I haven't motivated them right. I haven't given them the quite the perfect exercise that is actually fun, instead of me just drilling them. So I'll first put it on me. But the thing that I've had to actually, and this is probably, I'm maybe a little opposite from a lot of teachers, because I think they will mostly put it on the student. They'll kind of be like, well, I mean, come on, I'm perfect, right? As a teacher, I'm a badass.
For sure, for sure.
So it's
I'm teaching you,
turd kid. I mean, I'm perfect and you suck. They'll kind of come at that idea, and I come at it exactly opposite. I'm always going like, oh man, I could have done that. Yep, and that too. Oh, I could have done that. But I need to stop myself and so my question then is, like, this is just again a rhetorical question, but do the student and parent eventually have to come to you? Because I think of it as I'm the coach and I'm just throwing things. I'm not playing the game. And what do you think about that?
Man, when I'm teaching these kids, from the very beginning, I'm trying to find ways to make it to where it's all on them.
Yeah.
And that's not because, like you said, I don't want to be a douche teacher. I don't want to be like, I know it all. But I want them to have the feeling that they want to do it for themselves.
Yeah.
I've got...
That's the ultimate, right?
Yeah. I've got like a few kids that I teach in the same household, and the oldest one, great kid, man, but he's just getting ready to he just started college. He's figuring out his way, and he wanted to do lessons, and so for a while he quit. We started, he quit because he was starting college, picked it back up, and, I'd watch him, and I noticed, he wouldn't have enough time to practice, and I was like, man, I'm not going to sit here and, waste your time, waste my time, waste your parents' money, or whatever the case may be. Like, I want it to be on you. You need to decide for yourself, is this something you really have a passion for? Is this something you really have time for? And that's what I kind of do, even for the younger ones. I tell them, you haven't practiced in 3 weeks, dude. Mm-hmm. You know the stuff. You're smart, and I try to encourage them. Yeah. I try to beef them up. Like, I know you know it. You're pointing out, every time I point to a note, you know what it is.
You show them something that they're doing good.
Because I feel like...
Proving it to them.
I feel like these days, in a lot of ways, the youth are handed things. Mm. you know, and they're handing things way too easily. Unlike when me and you were growing up, you know, it was like
We're in handing
you're
everything.
gonna figure it out, man.
Yeah.
You know, and you're gonna figure it out for yourself, and you have the brain and the knowledge and the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I try to do for them is I know it's still on me, and there's different ways to approach it, and it is on me at the end of the day as the teacher to make sure they get it. But the way I perceive it to them is that, you know, you're smart enough to do it on your own. You know, I'm just here to kind of walk you through it. You know, it's on you to really have the passion and the knowledge and figure it out. You know, and that's what's really helped me with a lot of my students and kept them accountable. You know, not saying I haven't had to hand out, you know, a practice time log, but you know.
See, I don't. The reason why I asked that question of why do you do the time, or why don't you like the time logs is because I'm kind of similar to that, where because in college we call that like an informal assessment when they just sit there and play it for you. You know, and like any good teacher can tell in 1 second. You know, that shit is worse than last week.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that means you didn't practice at all, because it would at least be the same, you know, but it's worse. And so like for me, when you give the parent the timesheet, and then, you know, it's just too easy for the parent to sit there with the kid, and the kid is watching the parent, they didn't practice, and the parent's like, okay, you know, I'll just basically cheat and sign this. And so now the kid is saying the parent totally okay with cheating. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so that's why, because to me that is not proving anything to me. That and you could almost make an argument that is making this worse. Yeah. You know, that situation right there. But you and I know we can sit here for 2 seconds and figure out if the kid's practiced, you know.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's, to me, like, I like the idea of the parent sort of barely being involved, I guess. Right? I mean, I guess
exactly.
they are, but, you know.
I rarely have got them involved.
Yeah.
You know, and the only time I have is when I say, hey, you know, your kid, they didn't practice. Yeah. You know, and I'm not going to sit here and waste your money and my time and their time. Yeah. You know, like, if they can't practice, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to teach them. Yeah. You know, and so I kind of put it on them right there, I guess, at that moment. But at the same time, it's still on the kid, because I'll even tell the kid, you know, hey, you haven't practiced. You know, and I'm not going to waste, same thing I told the parent, I'm not going to waste their money, our time, you know. It's on you. And fortunately, I haven't had to walk away from any kids yet, you know. But I totally get what you're saying. I hate when a parent, you know, just can't say, hey, he didn't practice. Yeah. You know, and it's not on them. I can't fault them. But at the same time, as the adult in the situation, if I asked you to do this for me, you know, I need you to be honest and do it. You know. And then another question, like I said before, is that meeting right there where you're telling them that they're not doing good enough or whatever, you need to practice. Again, the question, is that cruel? See, I would say no. Nope. I would say not at all is that cruel, you know, but there's some people in the world that think that's cruel. Or like, I'm in your boat, man. Not just that you're not doing what you should, but the kind of, you know, some people would call it like an ultimatum almost. You know, I don't need to sit around here and waste your time and you waste mine, you know. That come to Jesus meeting right there, you know, is that cruel? See, I'm probably with you in the camp not cruel at all,
heck
man.
no, is that
no,
not?
It's not cruel.
That's not cruel. You know,
if anything, they should look at that as, okay, that's very respectable, because you're not going to waste my money, you know. If they're paying for this, you know, they should be getting exactly what they're paying for. You know, and so... Because now you're taking their money. Yeah, and that's a great point. You're letting the parent know that I'm not just going to sit here, oh, yeah, Billy, great job. All right, see you next week, you know. You're just taking, you know, there's
taking the money.
Many dollars I make. Yeah. No, I'm not going to do that, you know. I'm going to have a come to Jesus moment with you. I'm going to tell you the way it is. If it can't change, you know, I'm going to let you go, because I'm not going to do that to anybody. I wouldn't want that done to me, so I'm not going to do it to them. You know? I'm with you, man. So cool, man. So I guess last two quick things here is, tell me just a little bit about playing
different kind of genres, because I know you're probably similar to me, where you've kind of played a lot of different kinds of music, and there's a lot of guys in town and everywhere, I guess, and the classical players are very much like this, where they play classical and that's kind of their thing. And then a lot of the blues guys have played some rock, and a lot of the blues guys played classic rock stuff
For sure.
but they go, oh yeah, jazz, right, okay, and they or the jazz guys go, oh, you're a country musician, okay, well, all right, nice to meet you, but go over there. So they kind of get that attitude with a lot of talk about a little bit of the differences in some of the music you've played.
Yeah, well, fortunately, not only growing up did we listen to, all types of music and whatever, but we also did DJ gigs and did a lot of stuff like that. So I mean, our collection was very, expansive and very diverse. Every possible thing you can listen to was sitting on our iPod or our CD player or cassette player or whatever. I'll still remember my dad. We had an old kitchen, like in our old kitchen, we used to have a shelf with a little record player and a little CD player in one, and he would sit there and I'd have to push the button, while he'd go back and forth and write the lyrics down, for any type of music, man. Any type of music. And I think that's where, with learning multiple genres is where we go back, one more time to the whole language thing. It's all about learning those language. Country is a language. Blues is a language. Jazz is a language. And you have to be able to really understand those well enough, to where if you go to one of these jams, you can call it, I guess you can have, casual conversation. Or, just like you're going to another country, you want to be able to have enough of the casual conversation to say, can I go to, or where's the bathroom? How much is this? Where is that? What is this? Just the basic knowledge, so then you can do it justice. I think a well-rounded musician, and I don't think it's just jazz cats. I think it's any cat like yourself. Playing classical music and really trying to learn the blues and jazz and all that stuff. I think that's great, and you're not just, saying, okay, I'm gonna look at this piece of music, never listen to it. I'm just gonna learn the notes. I'm gonna go play. Just whatever. No, I think, the best cats are the ones who sit there and they'll immerse themselves in it. Like they'll say, okay, I'm gonna take a night in Tunisia, and I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna listen to it all the time. And I'm gonna figure it out. And then tomorrow I'm gonna take, I don't know, a George Strait tune, and I'm gonna figure it out. And it's not just figuring out to say, okay, that's an A chord, so I'm gonna add a 7 or 13. Like, no, man, let's look at the A chord. Let's really listen to it and say, okay, in country music, or in this particular country song, it might be just a regular old A chord, a triad with maybe an octave on top. It's just doing those little things to really understand it. Like we talked about the simple nuances between blues and jazz swing blues. Yeah. And a lot of cats don't know the difference. But luckily in this town, a lot of cats do know the difference.
Yeah.
And it's just respecting what was put before you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I hate the dudes that sit there and when they hear like guys at the Foundation or the Blue Room play some blues and they'll start with me like, that's not real blues. I'm like, you motherfucker, I'm like, dude, that annoys the crap out of me. And I'm like, yeah, that's not Stevie Ray Vaughan blues they're playing like there. Yeah, I'm with you there. But
it's blues.
It's blues, It's a blues is a scale. Blues is a mentality. Blues is and there's a lot of different ways you can. I mean, there's the stuff you guys do is bluesy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing, and what the guys are doing at the Blue Room is bluesy, right?
Yeah.
It's got the flavor in it. Any jazz is bluesy, right?
For
all
sure,
of it,
man.
That drives me
man.
nuts when those guys say that.
Dude.
I'm like, that sounds so ignorant to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, everybody's got their own interpretation, and every place is different. I mean, okay, well, if you're gonna be like that with saying that's not real blues, then you tell me what's real blues. So if you're really that nitpicky, okay, so what should they
They'll
be
say
playing?
Muddy Waters, Steve Ray Vaughan.
But then should they be playing Kansas City blues?
Right.
Is that Memphis? Is that
Yeah.
Delta? Is that West Coast? All right, if you're gonna be that much of a jerk about it, let's get down to the specifics. Like, respect them for even acknowledging the music and playing that.
How about
and
Zeppelin?
attempting. Yeah, yeah.
Zeppelin's rock blue,
Yeah, and it sucks that some people have to be that ignorant.
Yeah.
But hey, man, that's the world we live in, and that's what I'm saying. Just if you want to be a well-rounded player and you really want to be, able to be respectable to all these genres, you need to immerse yourself in everything you're trying to do. You need to be willing to just be willing to look at every genre and have the knowledge and the time to say, hey, I need to listen to this. Everybody's got a voice. And, even in the jazz world, for me, like, I can't say I can't stand Kenny G is not my first choice. Okay? But when I did a clinic where I got to listen to T.S. Monk talk, Thelonious Monk's son, he said even if it is Kenny G, he still has something to say. So that's how I look at music. That's how I look at every single genre. Yeah. Everybody's got something to say. Yeah. You might not like it, but somebody else is going to, and you need to respect it. And if you're going to try to play it, then listen to it. Yeah. Learn it.
There's something unique about it, right?
Yeah.
I always use the example of you'll see like a 67-year-old white guy at a wedding reception, right? And they'll play Brick House or something, and he goes up there and he's on the dance, and you're just like, oh no, dude, oh no, stop, please, stop, and then he goes in the back and then starts bitching about rap, how stupid rap is, and then I'm like, yeah, you go do that, go try to rap, see what happens, and then they can't do it, so they talk about how easy it is, but then they can't do it, I'm like, isn't that interesting, and the classical guys getting up there and watching these country players and kind of, thinking they're on this lower totem pole or something, and I'm like, yeah, go improvise, try it, get up there right now, and then they pee their pants, because they can't improvise, so everything's got quality, right?
Everything's got its own set of challenges, and everything's got its own, different sort of part. It's just like a car, man. Every car has its different size tires, has its different size, rims. One car might have 5 lugs, one car might have 6 lugs. Windshield wipers aren't the same size, whatever. But every car, every genre of music has its different little pieces that make it run and make it what it is. And its own set of challenges when you're really trying to take it apart and understand it. So,
and it's qualities too.
Yeah,
because these sports cars, they're great, but they can't carry nothing.
Yeah.
And then this big SUV has got, 16 miles to the gallon, but it can carry a whole, they all got benefits and
they all got their weaknesses, they all got their strengths.
Yeah.
And it's, that's why some people just really get down and really understand one. And, that's great. But I really respect the cats who really try to learn as much as they can. And that could be the basic things like, if I'm referencing a car, they could learn how to change the oil, fill their fluids, air up their tires, pump their gas, and put a spare on. Yeah. But who knows? Those 5 qualities, those 5 things right there make that car run.
Yeah.
So if you're playing country and you learn proper voicings, learn how to play the style right, especially like if you're a drummer or a bass player, if you really learn the difference between a country swing and a jazz swing, and even a blues swing, and then learn how the guitar, for a guitar player learns how his amp should sound, to get a certain dialect as compared to the dialect of a jazz tune, or a blues tune. Like, those little simple things make that car run, and they make that car run better.
Yeah.
And that's where those are the cats I respect, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man.
So
that's cool. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up here. You were talking before we started about a a trip or a gig
Oh,
you did,
man.
and
Yeah, man.
and I always like to end the show on some ridiculous moment in the music business because we all of us have, this is a this is lunacy what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, playing music is just
Oh,
stupid and
man.
ridiculous, and we shouldn't even be doing it because of the stuff that happens. But
Exactly.
You
man.
got anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I need a drink for this one, man. So, oh God, when I was in college, I was very fortunate enough to be in a group called Solstice, which was the top combo at Friends, award winning before I got there, and fortunate enough when I was able to come in, we were able to carry on that legacy. And Lisa Hiddle, thank you so much. She's great. Shout out to Friends, my alma mater, killer teacher. And that's really one of the places where I learned the family idea of music. So big props to her. I hope she watches this. But anyway, Solstice got on our first year at the GEN conference, which is the Jazz Educators Network conference. And that year was in Dallas. So, we were in Wichita. So we were driving down to Dallas, man. And, man, I'll just tell you right now, that trip was the most insane thing ever. I'm actually going to start from the end because the beginning of the story is where it was the craziest. But, with what happened at the beginning of the story, it made these other two things be like, okay, I get why this is so crazy.
Yeah.
But one day we were going out for lunch. They had a break in the conference, and we were walking to a deli shop up the street, man, and there's this lady outside on the phone. And she's yelling on the phone, and she's like, my husband killed somebody, and I need to tell you guys, I need to file a report. I don't know what to do. I know where the body is. And we're just like, what is happening? So we're sitting here like outside just trying to order our sandwiches outside this deli.
Yeah.
This lady's yelling. People are just walking on by, and we're like, is this normal? Is she acting? Like, are we supposed to, leave her a tip? So that happens. And then we went to go eat another day. We went and walked down the street to, the place that puts the hats on your head and makes fun of you, Dick's Last Resort. So we were walking there, went and enjoyed our dinner, stopped and got some beer. No, I'm sorry. On the way there, we were looking up and we seen this plane, like, heading right towards these buildings. And now, granted, the first thing had happened already. The crazy lady happened. And we're looking at these buildings and we're like, oh, dude, we're about to die. like I hate this so much, man. So luckily it was just us, like, in the heat of the sun. Like, the plane just drove, like, right behind flew right behind the buildings. We were like, oh, thank God.
The airport was right there.
Yeah, we were like, oh, God, I thought this was it. I thought we were done. So that happens. And we were like, we got to get out of here. Luckily, that was like the last night. But all this happened because the first night, man, we got in town. We were like maybe 5 miles out of Dallas where we got our hotel. And we pull up, we get in our rooms, we check in, and we're walking to the gas station across the street, to get a couple beers because we're like, man, we've been on the road. We just stopped at a few schools. We're tired. We just want to take a drink. We walk out, and this car, like, flies over the curb in front of our hotel and, like, parks, and we're, like, freaked out. We're like, what is going on? The dude runs inside our hotel. Then, like, 3 cop cars pull up, chase the guy inside our hotel lobby, and arrest the dude. And so we're like, all right.
So apparently this is what kind of town we're in.
We're like, all right, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. So we got to get a whole case of beer. Well, needless to say, we get...
Try to forget this.
Oh, man, we get destroyed.
Yeah.
And we all end up falling asleep in the same room.
Yeah.
And we all wake up, like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before we're supposed to leave. And, we're all still completely hungover.
Yeah.
and our trombone player gets up because he wasn't supposed to fall asleep in our room. We all just fell asleep in my hotel room.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I gotta go get ready. So, we're all fumbling around. We're all still like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And he reaches for the door. And the door is still latched on by like a hook latch. And he pulls the door open and rips the whole frame off the wall and rips the whole door off
Drunk
the wall.
Drunk as hell, right? Yeah.
And we're like, there's just that dramatic pause and everybody just loses their mind. And like initially we're sober again.
Right.
Like, dying on the floor laughing and like the door's just hanging off the wall. Lisa comes out and he's like, I broke it. I ripped the door off the wall. And like she's looking at him like, oh, it's like, oh man, that was the greatest.
That sounds like an out of control.
The greatest, most singular moment I have ever had on tour.
That's crazy.
And that just kind of like, set the precedent for that whole week in Dallas.
Yeah.
It was just like, we wake up and this guy rips the door completely off the frame of the hotel. We're like, oh my God.
Well, we've had a bunch of like orchestra trips like that. I haven't had really too many band crazy stories, but I have some other stories like that where we went going on trips and bringing vodka with us, or doing silly stuff. And what was so funny is us being like orchestra kids, all the good kids, and you'd kind of be surprised.
For sure, man. No.
How much we kids like that fun, but that's how you learn, right?
Yeah,
I mean, those moments is it kind of.
Well, that's what brings you closer together.
Yeah.
That's
but even as individuals, I mean, those are all the moments that sound really scary as a parent. Looking back on the kid, or the teacher looking back on the kid. But those are, if you don't have too much damage, that's what teaches you to not go.
Yeah,
get lit when you have an 11 o'clock show the next day, in the morning. That teaches you those things.
Teaches you responsibility.
Yeah.
And it helps you grow up, helps you bond also.
Yeah.
Those moments with those cats, man, I'm always gonna remember. Great tours, great experiences. I love those guys. I love that whole community. So, it's moments like that you're always gonna have, and you're always gonna carry, and you're always gonna, kind of reflect upon when you're really faced with a challenge, and really faced with an experience you don't understand. It's like, okay, well, how did I do this? So I appreciate every single moment I got with any sort of musical experience.
That's cool, dude. Well, pretty much wrapping up here. Drop your band name again.
Yeah, guys. Stranded in the City. So please check us out. We'd love to see you guys at one of our upcoming events. We got a few on the calendar. So check us out on Facebook. Website coming soon. New merchandise coming soon.
That's cool.
Hopefully new EP coming soon. So be on the lookout. We're really excited, and we hope you guys will enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely want to come to a show here. Like I said, I've only seen you guys twice at those jams, but definitely an awesome band, and obviously up and coming in Kansas City, so you guys should check them out. Under Reyes Jr. Thanks, man.
Hey, man,
Thanks
thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate it, man.
We'll definitely probably try to do this again. I've been saying this on the show that I'm thinking about doing one of these with instruments, because I wanted it to just be talking, like we've done these 25 so far. But I think what would be real cool is sometime to do one with some of you guys, to bring in, like, you come here with the piano and we play for 2 minutes of a chorus or something on a song, and then we sit there and talk about what you just did,
Yeah.
Why do we do this chord to that chord? Why am I laying this back so hard? That, real, like, deep dive playing kind of stuff with instruments, I think would be a cool show to do that would be really different from these. So
how to find me, man.
Yeah, maybe we'll have you back, and maybe even bring the band in, and we can kind of do another.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe a round robin thing where you guys play for a song, and we go talk about the song.
Yeah, man, that would be
kind of
killer.
cool too. So
and big shout outs to you, man, for doing this in the Casey area, and folks support Rob. Support live music, support things like these. Where you're really trying to get the community to grow together, and that's what music is. It's a big community. So shout outs to you,
Thanks,
man, for
man.
doing
Thanks.
something like this.
Yeah.
We need this in this town.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I'll say is that's one of the things why I knew this would be not as hard as I thought, is because a lot of us are super connected. You know, I mean, the jams help out a lot, in this town, and obviously that everybody needs subs so bad because everybody's in 3 bands, but everybody's not at each other's throat for gigs. Like, we all, in general work with each other pretty good. Everybody in the blues scene knows all of them. Everybody in the jazz scene knows all of them, and so I knew that Kansas City is already in general like that. They don't, so I knew this would be a cool idea, but we're gonna keep doing more interviews and getting the word out with all these great musicians we have in KC. So that's it. Show's over. Get out of here. We'll see you guys later.